Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Laughing Stock. Happy Tuesday. If you're a bear. this is a nice red one. Actually somehow did pretty well today, all things considered, and by pretty well I mean I didn't take like a huge loss today, so I'll take that as a win because everything else looked to kind of get smoked here, besides a few things. I don't think that Japan number's right. I'm pretty sure Japan was down. I think this is old. I keep getting an error in one of these things, so I got to update that one. But yeah, almost everything was down. I think Nvidia kind of tanked, which, you know, kind of pushed the whole markets down. It's great that the entire markets are reliable on Nvidia. It's definitely an efficient market right there. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't know if you read the caption for today's video, but I've been trimming, kind of like how I said I was going to trim. So I got out of high MMR at the right time. When it popped back a little bit, I decided to just take it there. But and I'm glad I got out of Maxon because I was following that, and that looked like that dropped again heavily. So just further emphasis on not doing those kind of things. Really, it sounds stupid to me, but really making sure that you follow the chart and the rules. It's more so the rules that I've set for the charts. I keep just backtracking everything. I'm just all day just looking at charts, which is stupid because what kind of fundamental investor is looking at charts? But it really is important. I found that because understanding the way the market works is helping me understand better that even though the fundamentals are the driving force behind things, you can watch as the market starts to either appreciate those or continue to miss these kind of things, which I think gives you an edge, which is kind of why I'm kind of excited going forward because I feel like I've been watching like a lot of trading things, and people have been saying like they don't see how some of these moves occur, and I'm not gonna lie, if you really learn to read a chart, you can kind of see that story evolving just in the chart itself. It definitely helps to know the narrative at least by a bare minimum, and I would argue that the fundamentals are important, and you know, fundamentals are great, and you have to remember too, like sometimes you're going to run into a company that doesn't really have earning. I mean, we were looking at all kinds of microcap stuff that doesn't have much or it looks terrible. So knowing that kind of stuff, and then realizing that if you're going to use a chart, like the chart's going to keep you out of trouble also, which is like I'm saying, which is today. So for instance, it says 1 week, but it's really only today. So today I was only down about just over 0.5%, which the whole market was down 3% on most things, and most of the stocks I look at were down a lot. I mean, some of the things I look at, like I said, Max was down 14, Ever was down 10, and I did own Bluebird, so this triggered a stop loss, which is probably this Bluebird alone probably is why I had my loss today. You know, I'm checking on some of these other ones I've been in. ARC took a hit. Vox was pulled back a little bit. Some of the other ones I've been in pulled back a little bit. CLW pushed me out. Carry was actually up, which is bullish. I'm excited to see what that does. If tomorrow's the day everything kind of bounces back a little bit, which I would imagine there's a pretty big pullback, about 3% for the NASDAQ and for Russell, which is probably almost all the stocks I'm in. CNF was another one I'd looked at quick. I think I'd looked at that one on the stream. I'm pretty sure Zevo I did as well. Most of the ones I see on here are probably ones that I looked on the screen because that's why they're pulling them up on Yahoo. So overall, I can't be too disappointed. And like I said, you can see from the position sizing, you know, I got all these down to just a few percent now, which good and bad. I mean, bad in the idea that when stuff goes up, if you don't have decent position sizes, you're not going to capture. But still, you know, a stock that goes up a lot, no matter what, even if it's a small position, that's still, it doesn't hurt the portfolio. And when they go down, you don't get murdered on one. And that's why I said, you know, I'm going to try and stick to probably between, like my goal is to keep going into 5 or 10 stocks at a time. Now I'm going to have stuff left over because I'm going to have kind of like stocks that trail because I don't sell totally out of the position because I'm just trying to see how much of the run you can get. And then if those finally collapse under like a moving average or something like that, that's when I'll finally sell. So, you know, like this Curie one. So for instance, like we pull up the chart here. Oh, of course I can't click here. Whatever, let's type in here. So the Curie. So, you know, had this initial pop here, kind of moved sideways. And I've been talking about this now. And like I said, a bunch of traders do this kind of thing. But we just have this real sideways movement, a little bit of consolidation here. I guess you could argue. I don't even know if I need that long of a band. I might be able to just do a band from kind of in here. And you start to see it connect to this 10-day moving average here. And this is when all of a sudden it decides to start to push up. So the goal is to notice it somewhere in here, you know, whether it breaks out from this 10 or 20-day moving average. That's going to be kind of the time to watch it as it converges in here. And, you know, people call it a momentum burst, all these different stupid names, whatever you want to call it. But either way, it was similar to what we were already doing with Bollinger Bands and what. And then as you can see, it pretty much hugs the Bollinger Bands moving average. So it does look like it's maybe starting to soften a little bit here. But at the same time, too, like I said, I've already, even if it does, I've already captured a good chunk of this move here. So we'll see what it does here. But maybe it continues to push up. I would think if it was bullish on a day like this, that's bullish overall. And you might get one of these sections here where it tends to trade slightly up and then finally goes up again before it finally pulls all the way back down. So, but I mean, no matter what, even if I'm down here, if I have to get off on this day somewhere in here, even if it's at the bottom, because you wait kind of towards the end of the day from most people I talk to, most people recommend you don't do intraday stuff. And reason why is because the intradays, if you look at these numbers, I mean, if you were trading on intraday stuff, you'd get stop loss constantly. You would just get knocked out of things. So it's better just kind of do your purchases in the morning and do your sells at night. That's kind of what and the only thing is when you're initially taking a position, possibly if it collapses right away when you get in, then you should probably get out because I would imagine if you're going to get into something and it's a really bullish day and there's going to be huge upside, there's not going to be much of a pullback. Like if we zoom into right here, so if we zoom into this side right here, as this starts to break out along this 10-day moving average, and then it starts to beat out even the Bollinger Band there. I guess I'm trying to think what day would probably trigger a buy. I mean, if you bought on this day, you'd probably get stop lossed out once, which would. But that's the thing too. I mean, even if you bought on this day, like if it had this huge pullback, that should mean you get out. And that's why it keeps you from making the mistake of getting in at this point. Now, next time it breaks out is probably on this day. it's not really above what anything is, but if you had bought there and held, now you're in it this day, it bounces around, but end of day it ends up at the same spot, so you wouldn't be out, and that's when you start to capture the whole move. Or let's say you waited until more of a more defined breakout, which I guess you could argue it's probably this day here. This is the one where you get in, and even if it pulls back a little bit, you know, if it doesn't break that 10-day moving average, or I don't know, wherever you want to put the lines. Like I said, the thing is, you don't want something to trade super small. You know, you want it to be able to push out, and you know, there's going to be times where you get stop lossed out of these things. Maybe you didn't get stop lossed out in this one. Then maybe as soon as this pulled back in this section here, you decided to get out because that's the day's lows. Though then you wait and you try this day, and this is the one you would have got in on. So, you know, these are huge moves on these days. You know, and this is within a 3 or 4 day period. And like I said, you trim along this, and then you just wait until you get pushed out by dropping down through a moving average or something like that. But so the other thing too, like I said, it's important to zoom out on these. So if we zoom out here, most of the guys that I've been kind of looking at, following a little bit, looks like it's constantly, you know, we're waiting for this kind of flat sideways period where you get kind of like a flag or a sideways movement before the breakout. And historically, if you've already recently had a breakout, ones tend to occur soon afterwards, after this period of kind of moving sideways and consolidation. Now, this is already on a stream or on a company too that I know the narrative and that I like. So, you know, the goal would be as well to be able to capture this move. Now, most traders won't capture this move because they're not looking for the story. I think it's interesting because one of the biggest moves you can catch is from the fundamental story turnaround, which is in this section here. And if you were to see this breakout here, now normally most guys wouldn't be in this one just yet. It does still kind of follow the rules, which so I guess I shouldn't be saying that totally. Where is that move? What did I zoom out to? Did I go back? Hold on. So I'm not used to like using this little zoom in tool. There we go. Okay. I gotta go this direction. Anyways, kind of the same idea. You start getting some breakouts here. You got huge consolidation. I'm not real good at this flag shit. So did I turn? Oh no, I turned inspect. I want to annotate on. So anyways, coming off this kind of a down move here, let's do something like this, and we'll call this a bottom. So you're starting to get the move up. Okay, so you get that slowly higher lows. And then it starts to ride the Bollinger Band or the 10-day moving average, and that's when you're going to see the breakouts happen. My goal is to keep working on being able to spot this, because that seems to be the real trick. But I had heard about Curiosity. I think it was Value, either Value or it might have been Courage and Conviction. Someone pointed to me this stock, and I didn't get into it initially. I got into it somewhere up here like an idiot, and should have got stopped out and didn't. So once again, a good way to limit your downside. But this is, like I said, this is just some of the stuff I've been focusing on in the charts to try and help me nail some of these times and buys. But overall, like I said, the portfolio was pulled back a little bit, but I would argue that for a day like this where I could have lost 3% or even more, like usually I'm in, you know, pretty heavily on these days, and I can take a real hit. I can take almost a 10% loss in a day or 2 days or so. So we'll see what the markets do. You can see under the dailies there wasn't a ton. I mean, we can go through some of these. I'll see if there's anything that looks like it's worth checking out metric wise. What was the news on this? What am I doing? Where's SIFY? Comes first in India to achieve NVIDIA's DGX ready data center certification for liquid cooling to enable breakthrough AI, blah, blah, blah. So they're going to work with NVIDIA. So, okay. So that makes sense. Now this one, just because it's news, from what I understand, another way that you would trade this is this would be considered like a pivot. So this one would be that there's this massive morning jump. And essentially you get in right at the morning and you basically wait. Well, you wait for something bullish to occur in terms of like a green candle like that. That's when you hop in. You can do it on the minute, the 5 minute, or technically like an hour, which would be a half hour when the market's first open. And, you know, like I said, you might get stopped once or twice on this initial move because it probably bounces around here a little bit. But as it goes through the day, I mean, you could have gotten in here and you could have rode this up. And now I'm not saying you're going to get this all in one day. It's more of a, you could day trade it. We'll see. I mean, maybe it goes up from here. This to me looks like it should continue up. I mean, we'll have to see tomorrow. This would be a good one to keep an eye on just to see what it does. So what did we just see? And by the way, Johnny and I were working slowly but surely, but we're close to having the Discord page pretty much ready to go. So we'll announce that as soon as it's up, and then we'll get that started. And anybody who wants to get invited into it, we'll be happy to get you guys a spot. But I will say, just on that bullish news, and it's $35 billion in revenue. That is ridiculous. I mean, you don't see 240 million volume very often on a market cap stock like this. It's still bouncing around even later hours here. It's actually selling back down. So I mean, this is a big move, but this is one. This would be interesting now. So now it's had its big move. Wait for the pullback, then wait for it to consolidate and see if it's going to break out. So this more would be added to a watch list now after this kind of a big breakout, because it's probably gonna pull back. Now who knows? Maybe tomorrow morning you open up and it looks like it's up. You might be able to try and play this and see if you can capture, and then you can essentially turn this into your next move. And if it get in here and if you get stopped out, you do. If not, just keep an eye on it. If you can stay in, then maybe you can catch up the next big move of this. I mean, it's up 100% one day. It's not to say this can't keep going. So it's more just like those are the options of what can happen. So it's just keep an eye on those things, and it'll help you kind of decide what's going to happen with the stock. What else? What happened with these guys? Apparently they just had earnings and maybe aren't dead because announced that on August 30th completed the sale of its insurance agency operations equal to $45 million plus possible additional earn-out payments of up to $25 million based on the future performance of the operations that were sold. All right, so cleaning up the balance sheet essentially is what that's doing. Just gave them a bunch of cash. This is really tough. This is a really small market cap. To me, this isn't worth messing around with. Yeah, like look at that. I mean, what is that? That's nothing. That means nothing to me. I saw Sable had a huge move. This is a pretty good example of it. So here's our first initial move. And it does continue to kind of trend up here, but there's finally the pullback. And then it kind of, recovers a little bit. And then there's this consolidation here, starts to ride the bands, and up it goes. So this goal would be somewhere to get into. This would be the day that would be the goal to get into. If not there, then one of these days. But obviously before this big move to capture that. You can watch MACD starting to rise. Volume didn't really show much. RSI was kind of giving a hint. It did show quickly that it was oversold. And these are also some of the things I've been looking at too. Like, okay, in terms of like how much of a pullback we need before it starts to consolidate. And, consolidation, does that mean it kind of plays around the 50 mark? And then as it breaks out from there, it's worth, keeping an eye on it. Because that's the thing is you got so much to look at in such little time. But you can also get a 40% move, and that's a 40% move today. If you had bought that, on here at the $15 mark, it's like a 60% move. I thought this went bankrupt. Yeah, another one I don't see anything really there. Now this isn't a good example of it, but this is. Get the pop, pulls back, kind of rides sideways for a while, and it consolidates. And up it goes. But yeah, this is essentially the trade I'm working on trying to spot. It doesn't always have to be perfectly clean, but the cleaner it is, I feel like the more conviction you should have, the larger your position size could be. And this in terms of metrics too, it has price to sales, it has book, has earnings, has cash flow. I mean, these are the kind of companies that are more interesting to me. Like this is something that gets added to my list, and I'll see. I'm curious to see what this does. 240. What is this doing right now? So this was all beforehand, huh? Is it being sold or something? All right. I was gonna say, I was like, how is it just holding that price? But it's supposed to be bought at 250 per share. So never mind. This one doesn't matter. But the interesting there too is it almost makes me wonder, like, this whole pop, like it's down to $1 back in April, only April, and then kind of nowhere jumps up to this $3 mark. Maybe that's where the price gets set from. I don't know, but either way, it's interesting that this all occurs, and then as it starts to pull back, they get the offer to get bought out, and market it's just going to settle at that price. They're just gonna get that price. Definitely some losers today. You really can't use the charts for the. You're not gonna see anything on the charts. So I see Sega continues to pull back. Close some of these up. here it is again. Pulls up, comes back, pulls, consolidates, and goes up. And this is why I say it's important to kind of trim, because you know, this one would you could have gotten hurt touching it, but at the same time too, if you had sold, let's say 50% of your position on one of these days, you know, it makes this so this doesn't kill you. You know, another pullback. And this one just kind of, I mean, this like perfectly rides that Bollinger Band all the way up. But this one, it's a little choppy in here. This is where it's kind of choppy. And another huge pullback. I mean, this is one of those stocks that just has those nasty pullbacks. So you know, just from a fundamental, if I'm going to look at more at the metric side of this, I want that cheaper. You know, if it was down here at the $450 mark, that's where I start to get interested in something like that. Grupo's getting smacked. You know, and in these general downtrends like this, where both the 10-day moving at and 20 are just, you know, in these free falls, it's not a good time. Not a good time to even, you know, even if you miss one and it happens to pop off here, you know, wait till it pulls back and starts to consolidate in here. Now this one continued to consolidate down, so but in here there wouldn't have been anywhere to buy. None of these days really trigger a buy. This is maybe your only day where, you know, it was down, but it still had a down part of the day. Like I said, it should just pull up. You know, it should be that, you know, you're here and then you start to get this day where it looks like it's breaking above the 10-day moving average, and then it bounces, and then you catch your most of this move and you get out on this day up here when it drops below that 10-day moving average. Let's see what's going on with insiders. Let's take a peek at PBF. Matt's not there yet. This is the director bought here on this gap up, but once again, even though this gapped up on that day, yeah, it was, I think it was like a 9 or 10% move here, still below the moving averages, both from in the downtrend. Not a time to buy. It's like I said, you'll have that move, you'll have that pullback, you'll have consolidation, you'll have a breakout. You know, it kind of rode up to here, broke down. It's a quick consolidation. It's not as strong of a move there. But you'll notice the 20 doesn't dip enough before this 10-day starts to catch up and push up. One thing I am noticing when I'm looking at these, though, is the ones where it's really seems to break out is the RSI seems to get to the overbought territory. Which is interesting. Gives you an idea of the strength of the move. You know, obviously, if they are, it's going to have to be overbought for these price breakouts to even occur. So. So keep that in mind. And like when I'm trying to pick these stocks too, like yeah, sometimes I'm looking at just how big of the move was, but most of the time, you know, typical stuff, price to sales, you know, cash flows. You know, if it doesn't even have like cash flow from operations, it's still hard for me as a fundamental investor to become too interested in. Like, you know, of these three, you know, global's what catches my eye there just because of these metrics comparative to the other two. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these because they can turn around. But in this, when I screen using this, that's what I do. If I'm going to screen using like momentum, I'll be looking strictly for momentum moves. Disregard the fundamentals when I screen that way because it's two different kind of ways of looking at things. And the fundamental ones are fun because you really only need a narrative change and or really like a revenue growth or something like that. You know, a lot of times it's not even earnings. It's literally sales increased, higher digit, triple digit, at least high double digit sales growth, especially surprises. That's where you're going to watch something kind of break out. So I put in this list together. This was a momentum group that I had been looking at. And the goal is to try and recognize some of these patterns. Now, it is tough on some of these. Some of these don't necessarily follow the rules. I mean, this one, it's not ideal. This is, like I said, a good indicator. RSI stays oversold the whole time, essentially. And then even during a pullback, you watch and it comes right back up. Now, this is a huge gap up. Probably really tough to get this one, but you might, even if you bought right here and just held through this section, I mean, it's not a bad week, essentially, if you bought this one on that. And it did it on this one too, but there was this long Bollinger Band ride there. So this one had a much better setup. And you can see it on the RSI as it continues to push up here. This makes me curious though. If I adjust my RSI here to 20, yeah, it's too strict. Sorry, my animals are loud here. This is a good example. This one kind of starts to hold up along the Bollinger. Then rides up. at here. Hang on a sec. Sorry, bud. You gotta go out there and keep her busy. Oh. Having all these animals, it is a real joy when you're trying to do this stuff. Let's see here. See, the problem is even when you screen this way, sometimes it's tough to see some of these. Hey, what's up, Value? How are you, man? You been looking at anything recently? I've been just kind of going through some charts and stuff today. I didn't really. Today was such a red day. Oh my gosh, it's a tough day. It's like slim pickings out there today. Trying to find something that hasn't had a massive pullback or. Some of these charts are all over the place. Yeah, I guess a red day for basically everybody. I was happy because I was only down like 0.5%. And luckily I was talking about this earlier in the stream, but I've been focused on making sure I trim on some of these big moves instead of just trying to capture most of it. Trim, get some gains, and then that way if something happens later with whatever's left of position after hours on a new contract clove. Ooh, after a huge pullback, huh? Well, that's interesting. That's a big move. This is one to keep an eye on tomorrow, for sure, just based on that. It's that magical AI word. Let's just start screening for AI. A leading AI-powered physician enablement platform. I wonder what the volume is on the after hours here. I can never remember how you can find it. I think it's under NASDAQ, but I don't remember exactly where it shows you what the actual volume was after hours. But let's see. So it's at $3 now. So that would put it back to around here, which would be a re-breakout above the 10-day moving average. I would argue that's pretty bullish. So definitely in the morning, maybe possibly make a move on that. Let's quickly throw that on a watch list here. No, I actually don't on BNED. It's been a minute actually since I had pulled them up. This says earnings dates anywhere from September 4th to September 9th, according to Yahoo. Oh, I don't want Yahoo. Come on. None of these stupid websites have anything. VNet, investor relations. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna say. I haven't seen it anywhere. I haven't seen like an update. Usually Yahoo or someone will have it like listed in here when they're supposed to announce it. So, only other place I can think to check here is yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll see it posted. So. Yeah, I think it'd be worth keeping an eye on. We'll see what the earnings do and what the stock seems to think it's going to happen. Yeah, if you have any other tickers or anything, and this is just a momentum screen I kind of built that I've been testing out, trying to see if it sorry, tell me I keep getting errors in terms of like the stream quality. So sorry, you guys, if it keeps lagging a little bit. Keep an eye on Bluebird. I thought Bluebird looked good here on this breakout here, but maybe not enough yet. I just thought it looked like it was consolidating to me. But we'll see. Maybe too much of a pullback here. It's gonna be it's tough to even screen on some of this stuff. Honestly, tomorrow it's gonna just kind of be one of those things. We'll just have to see what the market did. I was wondering if it's worth just screening by stuff that is just up in general. Let's go greater than 2.